I'd like to talk about the consistent ethic of life after the Dobbs decision by the Supreme Court. Well, that decision, as you may be aware, struck down the Roe versus Wade decision and also the Casey decision. Two decisions that had stood for rather a long time. Of course, this has caused a lot of controversy. So now the question we have to kind of ask ourselves is, well, what is going to happen next? In our society as we deal with this new decision. And basically, what we are trying to look at is the importance of standing up for life. The position in the Catholic Church is that life is important, and that life begins in the womb at the moment of conception. And so we have to stand up for life. It is very important that we do this, that we protect life, really at every stage, from the very beginning to the stage of natural death. But how we go about doing that is what we have to take a look at, particularly after the controversy that has arisen. People were used to the Roe versus Wade decision. They were used to abortion being a constitutionally protected right that women had, and that women would certainly say that they are responsible for their own decisions together with their doctor. The government should not interfere. They should be allowed this decision-making process. And so now it has changed. That decision really, in many states, will be taken away from them. And so what is going to happen as far as the church and our consistent ethic of life. Uh, Basically, one of the things I think we have to look at is the importance of human interdependence. How do we as human beings really kind of relate to one another? A very significant question in terms of this issue. Um, what do the mother and father owe to the unborn child? So, is there a sense of responsibility? And again, not just from the mother, so often that has been emphasized, but what about the father? When life has been created and this child is now in the beginning stages of life, uh, journeying towards birth, are there any responsibilities that you have for that life, to make that life flourish, grow, and develop, both as a mother and as a father? And that whole sense of human interdependence, how we are dependent on one another for life, for sustenance, for care. When you think of it, we say no man is an island, no person is an island, no person stands alone. Am I my brother's keeper? What is my relationship to my brother, and how does this impact my sense of life and my sense of care for the other? And this becomes a very significant question in this debate and this discussion. Uh, Certainly, there is dissent from this opinion of the Supreme Court, and really an understandable dissent because people were used to it being a constitutionally guaranteed right for almost 50 years, and now it is no longer a right. And people are like, who's on first here? It's a right, it's not a right. Why was it a right? A few months ago, now it's not a right. People naturally get confused by these types of changes. Some people consider it to be a throwback. So there is certainly dissent out there. We have to be aware of the dissent, understand the dissent, dialogue with the dissent. Not everyone is certainly happy about this decision. Polling shows the majority of Americans are not happy with the decision. Close to 70% are not happy with it. So that certainly is a problem that we have to be aware of. You have two arguments really in terms of the situation. There is the autonomy argument. And the autonomy argument is a very strong argument that is offered by people who say, well, wait a minute, don't I have certain privileges? I'm an independent person. Can't I make these types of decisions for myself? I make decisions about my health care in other parts of my life. Why suddenly can I not make a decision now? Is this too much governmental intrusion into what should be a private and a personal affair? And of course, we're always concerned about government overreach. When does the government have too many regulations, too much to say? That becomes really an issue. And when can a person, kind of stand on their own, make their own decision without the government interfering, without Big Brother, as it were, saying you can't do this, you can do this. So that certainly is one side of the argument. The other side is care for fetal life. Fetal life cannot grow and flourish without care. Uh, and certainly what we want to see is the development of fetal life, because this is how the person is formed. This is how we become a person through the various stages of fetal development. And so what responsibilities do we have to protect and care for fetal life so that life can flourish, so that people can be born? Do we as a society have certain duties of care? So this becomes the two sides of the discussion, the autonomy side and the side that is saying, wait a minute, we have to take care of and preserve fetal life. Rights, of course, are always grounded, as we know, in responsibilities. And so we have responsibilities to one another. Rights, of course, are very important. But if we have rights without responsibilities, this does not create really a good society. So how do we take the rights that people have and match them with certain responsibilities? So for example, I have a right to drive when I get a driver's license, but I have to be responsible in how I drive. I have a right to obtain a license after background check and all of that necessary preparation. I have a right to bear arms, but I certainly have responsibilities to make sure that those arms are locked away, kept out of harm's way so somebody can't get that gun and do terrible things with it. So rights go hand in hand with responsibilities. And so that becomes the dialogue here. I have a right as a mother, as a father. I have certain rights, but do I also have corresponding responsibilities? And what is the dialogue between the rights and the responsibilities? So, what is needed here in this situation where there is this back and forth is coalition building, is discussion, is dialogue, is coming together to mutual understanding in terms of a way forward in a difficult situation. So we need a radical solidarity with women in crisis situations. This situation in terms of abortion develops in what we call a crisis situation for the woman. And we also, of course, have to include a crisis situation for the male. Very important that we balance this out and that we have both the male and the female present here. And so very important that we respond in terms of the help that is needed in a crisis situation. And in future videos, we will explore the type of help that's needed and how we can have this consistent ethic of life after the Dobbs decision.